I'm divorcing you, you idiot. My husband shouted over the phone right as I got back from a business trip. I've put up with so much, but I've reached my breaking point. If you don't want a divorce, apologize now. Got it? Yeah, I got it, I replied, but instead of going to meet him at his parents' house, I went somewhere else. My name is Sophie. I'm 28 years old. I married my husband David, who's 2 years older than me, 3 years ago. To put it simply, David is the son of the future CEO of the company where I work. I used to work at a different company, but after marrying David, I joined his company, following an order from his father, the current CEO. Since then, I've worked hard to fit in and prepare for the role of being the CEO's daughter-in-law. My job is demanding, with long hours and frequent business trips. We've wanted to start a family, but work has been too busy and stressful. Recently, my relationship with David has been rocky. We're both so busy, and we often argue over small things. Just the other day, he yelled at me as I was leaving for work. Sophie, why didn't you wake me up at the time I asked? I did wake you up several times, David, I replied. You told me not to disturb you and that you'd get up on your own. So I went ahead and made breakfast. What? I never said that. Stop lying, he snapped. I'm not lying, I said. I tried to wake you up at least 20 times, and your alarm was ringing the whole time. He was worried about getting in trouble with his dad if he was late. I used to put up with David's unfair scolding, but I finally started standing up for myself. This led to a huge argument, and he blurted out, I want a divorce. Although our families helped smooth things over, I was tired of him threatening divorce over every little issue. One day, as I was getting ready for a business trip, David looked annoyed. Off on another trip, huh? He muttered, always calling my work trips just trips. It's a business trip, David. Why do you always make me repeat that? I said, getting frustrated. Must be nice to be on a trip all the time, leaving all the house chores to me. You're probably just sightseeing, he shot back. This trip is for your company. Why can't you understand it's work? I snapped. Sure, whatever you say. I still think it's just a trip. He kept going on about how I dumped all the chores on him, even though he never actually does any. When I'm away, he orders takeout, lets the laundry pile up, and doesn't even take out the garbage. His attitude stresses me out so much, and even the last big argument over divorce was because of his behavior. Even though we both have full-time jobs and spend the same amount of time working, I end up doing all the housework. On top of that, he acts bossy and superior, which I can't stand. Trying to talk to him about it goes nowhere because he never admits he's wrong. Instead, he just turns it around and blames me. As I quietly continued packing for my business trip, my husband started yelling at me again. For heaven's sake, a future CEO's wife shouldn't be taking business trips so casually. If you're not firm like me, the other employees will walk all over you. Actually, I'm working so hard because I'm going to be the CEO's wife. I need to learn the business and meet with clients, I explained. But we live a good life because I'm the CEO's son, right? You should listen to me more. It's all thanks to me. What are you talking about? The company is doing well because of the hard-working employees. Instead of acting high and mighty just because you're the CEO's son, you should put in more effort. His face turned bright red. What did you say? Work harder? Who even said that? I heard from other employees. They said you always push your tasks onto others, make them work overtime, and constantly complain. What? Whoever said that, I'll fire them on the spot. You're missing the point. Can't you see that you're in the wrong? You're making your dad look bad by acting this way. Angry, my husband's eyes widened, and he yanked my hair. Don't get too full of yourself. Remember, I got you this job at the company. Ouch, let go of me. You're only working at this company because you married me. Got it. You're not going on this business trip. You need to stay home. I've told you it's for work. I don't have a choice. Shut up. Don't talk back. You married me, so you should just listen to what I say. Suddenly, he let go of my hair, and I fell back from the force. I realized that if this argument kept going, it would just lead to him threatening divorce again. I forced him out of the room and continued packing for my business trip. When I got back, I knew I'd have to clean up a week's worth of mess he'd leave behind. I could already imagine the clothes on the floor and the overflowing trash, and I felt exhausted even before I left. The next day, I left for my business trip as planned, focusing on my work without letting my personal frustrations get in the way. A week later, when I came home, I was shocked. The house was spotless, just as clean as when I left. For a moment, I felt relieved, thinking that maybe David had finally understood how I felt and had changed his attitude. But then I saw the completed divorce papers on the table. What's this? Beside the papers was a note that read, "I'm going back to my parents' place. We're getting a divorce." Panicking, I quickly called him, and he picked up right away. "Did you see the divorce papers?" he said casually, like it was no big deal. His calm tone made me angry, and I fired back. He stared at me, completely stunned, as if he couldn't believe what I was saying. After a few moments, he finally managed to stammer, You actually filed them. Without talking to me first. "Yes," I replied calmly. "Like you said, I'm a nag who doesn't listen, right?" So I went ahead and made a decision on my own. And now, I'm free from someone who doesn't respect me. My ex-husband's mother, who had been silent until now, suddenly started ranting. "How could you do this to David? You've humiliated him. You could have been the wife of the future CEO. Do you know how many women would kill for that?" I just looked at her and smiled. If that's the case, then maybe he'll have no trouble finding a new wife who'll follow every word he says. But as for me, I'm done with that life. My ex-husband looked furious, and for a second, I thought he might yell again. Instead, he shook his head, his face turning pale. "You'll regret this," he muttered. "You're giving up a comfortable life. Do you really think you'll manage without me?" "Oh, I think I'll do just fine. After all, I've been doing everything on my own already. Now, I just won't have to clean up after someone else." With that, I turned and started to pack the last of my things, feeling a new sense of freedom. I no longer had to put up with his demands, his insults, or his constant need for control. I had chosen myself over being the perfect wife he wanted. As I closed the door behind them, I felt lighter than I had in years. From that day forward, I knew I was going to build a life on my own terms, one where respect, equality, and independence would come first. Suddenly, David's mother, who'd been listening quietly, shouted, "Wait, Sophie, what have you done? You've ruined David's record with this divorce. He's supposed to be our future CEO." I replied calmly, "It was David who gave me the divorce papers. All I did was turn them in." "Stop making excuses," she snapped. "Cancel the divorce right now. I'm sorry, but once the papers are accepted, they can't be canceled. And I have no desire to cancel this." David's mother was speechless, and David just lowered his head. Ignoring them, I said, "I'm tired of being put down whenever I go on a business trip and having to handle all the work at home alone. Frankly, you've been nothing but a burden." David tried to calm me. "Come on, Sylvie, relax." "Relax? I'm completely calm," I said. "What's the point of staying married if you only care about yourself?" "I didn't mean it like that," he stammered. "Do you really want to lose your role as the CEO's wife?" "I didn't join the company to be the CEO's wife," I shot back. "I didn't marry you to take care of you." David looked tearful, and his mother tried again. "If you divorce David, you'll also lose your job." "Fine by me," I replied. "I've already told your father I'm quitting." Both David and his mother looked shocked. David quickly dialed his father and put him on speaker. "Dad, listen, Sophie went ahead and filed for divorce." His father's voice replied, "Yes, she told me she's also leaving the company. She can't just do this. Can't you fire her?" His father sighed. "Actually, someone does need to be fired." "Exactly, so fire Sophie," David's mother insisted. "No," his father replied. "The one being fired is you, David." David's mother stared, stunned. "What are you saying?" His father continued, "David, your work has been terrible. You take company supplies for personal use, make employees uncomfortable, and constantly complain. Your colleagues think you're incompetent." "No, that's not true," David protested. "I can't protect you just because you're my son. Being the boss's son doesn't mean you can act however you want. The only good decision you made was marrying Sophie. She will stay if she wants, but you're fired, David." David was left speechless, realizing he was finally facing the consequences of his actions. My ex-husband's eyes widened in shock at his father's words. Unmoved, his father continued, "Unlike you, Sophie is dedicated and brings in a lot of clients. We've gained contracts thanks to her efforts and professionalism. But she's only been sent on business trips because she's new." David stammered. "Ridiculous," his father replied. "We sent her on trips because we trust her. You were mocking her, calling it a vacation, weren't you?" Know why? I didn't mean it. His father's voice turned stern. You'll have no place in this home until you can stand on your own. Don't come back here until then. Understood? No, no way. And just like that, my ex-husband lost his job, was disowned by his father, and was banned from returning home. When his mother tried to stand up for him, his father turned to her and said, "It's because you spoiled him," and served her with divorce papers as well. The two of them ended up using their savings to rent a small apartment, but they struggled to find work and have remained unemployed. My ex-husband still sends me messages. Sophie, I was wrong. I won't make fun of you anymore. I'll take care of myself. Please come back. I can't take this anymore. Please help me. He was so persistent that I eventually blocked his number. I don't need to deal with him anymore. Now, I'm still working hard under my father-in-law, who is the CEO. I even have my own team to lead, and my days are productive and fulfilling. It's a relief to work for someone who truly understands and appreciates my efforts. From now on, I'm focused on my goals, free from pointless family drama.